Missing someone, love with all your heart. Missing someone, love with heart.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this week's episode, I'm going to be taking this client. She was a old Underlight client that we did kind of like a pinkish underlight on the underneath. You can see it's still slightly pink. I haven't seen her in a while. I want to say maybe like a little over 3 months or 4 months. I'm not really sure, but she was refreshing the pink with a color balm that I made. And so yeah, that's why it's still kind of pinkish. And so today she came in and she wanted to do pink all over. She had seen a pink balayage that I had done on another client and she absolutely loved it. So we're going to transform her into an underlight into a balayage. So in the back here where her underlight is, I'm probably taking about 1/4 inch sections and then slicing that top portion of that section and then creating a slightly chunky weave just to kind of blend this out. And these weaves are going to be a bit more spaced out than that top portion since the ends on this section is pretty much solid and already super light. So I don't have to worry about this part being too dark if I don't take thin enough sections back to back. And I don't know if you guys can see very well in this lighting, but her hair is a really pretty baby pink on the ends considering how long she's gone in between seeing me. By looking at her roots, actually it's probably been way more, over like 3 or 4 months. I don't really know for sure off the top of my head, but it's really great that I can make my clients these color balms because even though they have color in them, by the time they come in for their appointment, it's really easy for me to remove even though they're refreshing their color at home. I know there's a lot of other brands on the market that have similar capabilities of like coloring the hair and refreshing the hair, and some of them, as a hairdresser, in my experience, it's been hard to remove and can be difficult when you're trying to change up the color of your hair. So I like to make these custom color masks. I just use them with Santa Barbara, which is Pulp Riot's conditioning hair mask. And so they recolor their hair at home and it's like a treatment on top of refreshing their color. And so this way, whenever my clients get creative color, it's easy when they have like 1 or 2 colors that they want to keep. Like let's say she had a 2-tone and she wanted it to fade out a little bit more pink. I would make the formula a little bit more pink and then make her hair mask kind of pinked as well, so that as her color fades, she can start using the hair mask to refresh whatever tone it's kind of faded to. So I really like that because it makes it easy on my clients and it makes them feel like their color lasts a lot longer too, because whenever you do any type of creative color on any type of hair, regardless if it's light or dark, it does tend to fade very quickly on most clients. So that is why I like to use these color balms so that they can safely reapply and refresh their color at home, and then when they come in for their appointment, it's really easy for me to change it up, or if they want to do something more fun or something different, I can easily remove the color, or we can work with however way that the color has faded out. Okay, so I am continuing doing those very chunky weaves because I want her to have really bright ribbons of color since this part is pretty much all virgin and dark. So I'm going in, taking very thinner slices of sectioning and then weaving them. And then in between everything that is left out of my weave, as you can see, I did a few teases and I'm going in and balayaging the ends of this and making sure that I'm fully saturated and painting up. And a good indication whenever I do this type of balayage on longer hair is to stop feathering up right around like their shoulder area or chin area, because if I go any higher, sometimes it looks a little odd and can be a little inconsistent. So I like to give the feathering all the way up to kind of like shoulder level, chin level, so that everything is pretty much even and it's easy for me to see where I need to feather up with that type of pointer. So essentially, this is a little bit different from the way that I kind of balayage. The weaving section is very similar to what I've been doing, but this new thing where I'm teasing out the ends that are left out, what this is going to do is as the color is done, this is going to keep the ends solid. So you see how her underlight, her ends were already solid, so I don't have to weave and tease that part, but everything else that's dark on top is all dark, so I had to tease the ends. Otherwise, her balayage would have looked a little inconsistent. It would have been really dimensional on the top and had solid ends on the bottom underneath, and I didn't think that that would look so great. So I went ahead and just teased everything that I left out of my weaves, basically. And it's going to give that slight ombre effect where like the ends are a little bit lighter, and you'll see at the end it looks really pretty, and I feel like looks a lot like a normal balayage where like it blends into the root and gives a really soft grow out where the ends are a little bit more solid. Okay, so as I'm working towards the sides here, again, I'm just doing what I normally do on most of my balayage clients and foliage clients. I'm just taking horizontal sections and going up. Here, I'm making sure to take even thinner sections in between. So in the back, I pretty much took like a 1/4-inch section, and on the side here, I take a little bit smaller section so that they're a little bit closer together. I want everything in the front to be a little bit brighter than the back, so it gives that really pretty gradient. And whenever you're weaving the sides like this, if you're weaving it horizontally and not weaving out the hairline first, it's very important to grab a piece of weave from the hairline so that that stays nice and bright. And it gives her that really pretty money piece around her face. And everything, like all of my weaves below the crown and temple area here, I do make them a bit more thicker because I want them to be nice and bright. But everything above the temple area here that are going to be above these side sections are going to be more medium and small weaves. I do like to alternate doing like medium and small, just depending on like what kind of look they're going for, if they want more of a dimensional root or more of a solid look. And that's how I will determine whether I do more of a medium size weave or a smaller weave, or just leave more dimension in between my weaves also. Generally, as I weave the sides here, I will weave up to the temple, and then I will move on to the other side and weave that up to the temple before I move on to the money piece. And then that last section on the very top is always the last section that I foil. So for my client's money piece, I beforehand had already asked her if she wanted a bolder money piece or something more on the subtle, just natural side, that it's like blended, just like the back is blended. And she told me that she didn't want something too bold. So I went ahead went and did like about 4 weaves back to back. Usually if a client wanted like a very bold money piece, I could do some slices, maybe like to start off with, or in the middle, sandwiched in between some weaves. But since she wanted something more just natural and not too light, I'm just weaving back to back. But again, since she is on the darker side, like to begin with, and everything is on this top part isn't blonde at all, that is also why I chose to do 4 weaves back to back. Now, if she had some light on the ends and I was still wanting to do a natural, I would probably only do 3 opposed to 4. But since her ends are all dark, I went ahead and did 4 back to back. So once my client's foils in the back were pretty much ready, my assistant Jennifer started to rinse them out. I like to take out the foils as they're ready. So since we started in the back here, these were pretty much ready, and we lifted her to a really nice level 9 and 10. I like to pretty much lift all of my dark hair clients specifically to a level 9 and 10, just like as light as possible, because dark hair tends to look a little bit more yellow and over time can fade out more yellow than lighter hair textures. So I like to lift my clients as light as possible, just in the case that they want to change up their hair in the future. It makes it a lot easier for me to change their hair color if they're already so light, opposed to like if I lifted her to like a level 7 and 8 and her highlights were not light enough for whatever next color she wanted, then I would have to kind of re-weave or re-lighten the previous balayage that I did on top of lightening up her grown out roots. So this just makes it 10 times easier to already have my clients super light before for the next color that they do or whatever other things they want to do for their hair. So my client today wanted a very specific pink tone, so we're going ahead and mixing up the Pulp Bright semi-colors for her. I pretty much used Cupid, Blush, and Cleopatra from the semi line, and we went ahead and rough dried her all the way so that we could apply this beautiful color. But you guys can see the nice blend before we color her whole hair and that nice subtle money piece in the very front there. And we're going to be going in and just applying that pink right on top of her blonde like this. We did not pre-tone her. This is pretty much her raw lift, so you can see how beautiful her hair lifts. And whenever I apply my semi-colors, I always like to start in the front, and so I'm doing her root color first and just applying this on the front area, then moving back to the back section after this. And then once I'm done basing with the root, I'm going to go ahead and use that lighter color and apply it to the mids and ends. And again, when I do that part, I will start in the front and then move my way towards the back. And whenever you're applying the semitones, it is very important to take very thin sections, because if you take too thick of a section, sometimes the hair can like clump together and you'll notice that you miss some spots. So it's very crucial to take very paper thin sections and making sure that you're fully saturating and getting that color in there. And also try not to work the color in too much to where it starts turning white, because this type of color is conditioner based, and if you start to work it in too much, you start to lose some pigment. So it's also good to just work it in enough to where you start to see that it's covering the hair, and then if you need more, you can totally apply more, and just making sure again to fully saturate the hair. And then once I was done applying this whole semitone, I let this sit for about 25 minutes in like room temperature, and then rinsed her with some ice cold water. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. Oh my god, I love the way that this turned out. This is the Underlight to Balayage transformation, and you can see with teasing out those ends that I left out from her weave, gave a beautiful blend and kind of matched everything together with her Underlight. Even though that whole top part was completely dark, I feel like you can't even tell now. It just blends all together overall. Alrighty, that is it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.